Today is Sunday, July 25th, 2021, which means this episode is late. Hello, Fiendlings, how the hell are you? This appears to be the era of science fiction space horror. If you know the game or universe at all, it'll come as no surprise to you that I'm a huge fan of the Dead Space franchise, so long as you omit Dead Space 3. For those of you that don't know what this is, it's a crazed mashup of zombie horror, Lovecraftian monsters, and a supernatural mythos. It was first released on Xbox, the original Xbox, and now they're remaking the entire first game. Dead Space not only reinvented the survival horror genre, it also resulted in 2 sequels, more than a few spin-off titles, graphic novels, and several traditional novels. I personally recommend the one called Martyr. The 2 animated movies, Downfall and Aftermath, provide a definitive prequel to the first game, while Aftermath takes place days later and serves as a prequel to Dead Space 2. Neither of them are bad flicks, even if you don't know the Dead Space universe. I'm excited like hell about the return of Dead Space because I imagine with the new technology, the beloved story will be 10 times more terrifying, not to mention beautiful on the eyes. Although it won't release until 2022-2023, I'm counting this as a win for us space horror fans. Yes, I know, another effing remake, but depending on what they do with this one, they might manage to avoid the awful storyline that destroyed the 3rd installment. And speaking of Dead Space, veterans from the original game studio that created the first Dead Space has a new game coming out later this year called Callisto Protocol. It looks as though it was ripped right out of my imagination. If you haven't seen the trailer for it, check out the links in the show notes. Same goes for the new Dead Space game. I'm excited to see both of these, not only for the fantastic experiences they might offer, but because it means other creators are seeing a market for the space survival horror genre, and therefore we might see some new properties in that arena. Maybe Netflix, Amazon, or even Disney will get it into their minds to start another Expanse-like show. Only darker. Much darker. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. Sadly, that's pretty much all I have to babble about this week, apart from saying I am drinking corpse coffee at this moment, and so should you. Visit corpsecoffee.com and drink the dead. Be safe, have a great week, and we'll talk again real soon. Here's episode 33 of Derelict, Trident. Chapter 53. It took a moment for Dunn to process what Noble had said. Blue?
Aye, sir. We've got comms with her.
Comms? I thought everything was dead. Noble chuckled.
Don't get too excited, sir. We don't have voice or audio.
Text only.
Aye, sir.
Noble said. How'd you find it? Noble paused a beat, and Dunn could practically feel the man blushing.
Went into a maintenance closet, found the alert, and checked it out.
NCSF?
Aye, sir.
Dunn grinned. When blocks and comms failed, humans could still communicate via hand gestures and, if they were really lucky, texts. Where are you?
Medbay 2.
I'm on my way. His head felt as though his brain were shrouded in gauze. The tete-a-tete he'd had with G did more than tax his brain cells. What did he call himself? Oh, right. The G Gestalt had shown him thousands of images in seconds, and some were still attempting to find a mooring point. If not for a distraction, he might have leaned against that bulkhead for half an hour before realizing it was over. His first few steps were dreamlike stumbles, but he quickly found his stride again. Also, a hint of a grin crossed his face as he walked past a few exhausted medical personnel still performing their rounds. S&R Blue. Captain LeBlanc was here. Somehow, some way. Dunn walked to the Medbay 2 entrance and saw no one. In the far corner, he spotted an open hatch. He jogged in the .8 G and reached it quickly. Noble sat before 3 holodisplay windows, his hands moving to make adjustments and troll through more data. Sir, Noble said without turning, I can probably transmit this to your block. Dunn opened his mouth to say please, but then thought better of it. Considering his recent encounter with G, void, but he was beginning to think of that virtual construct as a real person. He didn't want to take the chance of the bastard showing up, or give G a reason to. No, just on the screen. Noble paused a moment, his head almost turning to face the captain, but he didn't ask. Noble flicked his hand and text appeared on the nearest display. Attention Trident Station personnel. This is Captain LeBlanc of S&R Blue. We are here to render assistance. Please respond. It just keeps repeating, Noble said. Any idea how long? Dunn asked. No, sir. For all I know, this was beamed at us a week ago. You don't think that, do you? Noble sighed. Sorry, sir. I'm trying to figure out how we're getting the signal, and the only thing I can think of is that they're using... Noble hissed, and then chuckled. I'm an idiot. He didn't wait for Dunn to ask. Sir, they're using a sonic eruptor on the hull of the module, or maybe what's left of the antenna array. Dunn grinned. Of course they are, he said and activated the command channel. Carbonaro.
Aye, sir.
I need you to find me a module ER kit. We need the eruptor. I'm in Medbay 2, don't ask why. The pause was briefer than he'd expected.
Aye, sir.
Noble cleared his throat. We could also open the shutters, sir. Take a peek out the windows? Dunn shook his head. Not until we know what's going on. I don't want to take the risk of attracting whatever the void that was in the spindle. Hadn't thought of that, sir, Noble said. He returned to his displays, fingers moving restlessly, while windows popped up before disappearing in flashes of a second. What are you doing? Trying to figure out why this set of modules, of all the ones in Trident Station, seem completely unaffected by the energy wave. From what we've seen, the emergency reactors should be just as dead as the station's mains. It's just like the hangar, Noble stopped and hung his head. I'm still an idiot. What? Dunn asked. Noble spun in the chair and faced his captain. We're not using emergency reactors, sir. I'm willing to bet we have the same reactors set up here as we found in Black's hangar. Dunn blinked. The trio, the original trio, had somehow known what would happen, or at least enough to help guard their power sources. They could have left those for us, he thought. Fuck, he said under his breath. Can you confirm that? Noble nodded. Assuming they haven't locked us out, I should be able to get in there. If they had managed to install those new reactors, what else had they done since Black Company had departed Trident Station, what felt like centuries ago? More importantly, why? What was the trio's endgame? Which trio? Another fucking question he didn't have an answer for. Murdoch arrived with a half-meter square, whose width was less than a centimeter. Here it is, sir, the Marine said. Dunn took it from him. Thank you, Murdoch. Dismissed. The young man saluted and Dunn returned it before facing Noble. Any idea where the best place for this is? I think Medbay 3, sir. Is it even open? Noble swept his hands over the holo display, bringing up maintenance logs and security status. It's unpowered, sir. He frowned. Doesn't make sense. According to the monitors, it's unpowered, but it shows pressure and habitable temperature. If not for the combat suit's gloves, he would have rubbed at his eyes. Can you bring up our power status? Ours, sir? Medbay 1. Noble looked questioningly for a beat before bringing it up. Dunn could tell from the man's body language he'd already figured out what he'd see. The old reactors are gone, sir. The whole power system must have been rerouted. Years. Hadn't Xi said they'd been planning this for years? Decades? How could they possibly have... Xi. Fuck you, Xi, Dunn whispered. Noble glanced at him, but said nothing. Dunn opened the command channel. Carbonaro, I'm going to borrow Went. Send him to Medbay 2, rifle and helmet.
Aye, sir.
You sending him in there? Dunn shook his head. No, he and I are both going in there. Sir, Noble said. That's not a... Dunn nodded to him. Don't give a shit about regs right now. I need to talk to LeBlanc and I can't afford to have a go-between. Aye, sir, Noble said. But, thank you for reminding me, Dunn said with a ghostly grin. Understood, sir. Dunn pointed at the displays. Find out everything you can about the area surrounding the modules. See if you can give me some idea of where that power is coming from. Same with atmosphere. I want to know that right now more than anything. Noble nodded. Aye, sir. He heard the clomp of mag boots and turned. Went, a head taller than Dunn, walked to him, rifle held in his hands. Reporting, sir. Dunn locked the eruptor to his back and pulled his own rifle. We're going to have a look-see. Very good, sir. Follow me, Dunn said to Wendt. He gave Noble a curt nod. Good hunting, sir. Dunn grinned. You too. Medbay 3's entrance was shut and locked up tight. He couldn't remember if McRoberts had mentioned anything about Module 3, but Dunn couldn't imagine they hadn't already checked it for survivors and pilfered it for any supplies. So why was it locked? Dunn sent a block command to the door with his credentials, and the door indicator flashed red. No dice. Wendt, go to the maintenance hatch and see if the airlock is functional. Aye, sir, Wendt said, and jogged perpendicular to the large partition separating the two modules. If one module was locked down from another, the only way to enter was through an emergency airlock connecting the two. If it was ever necessary to separate the modules, they could do so without suffering decompression. Sir, Wendt called out, got green lights here. Fuckers can't make anything easy, can you? Dunn said to no one. Although, if the old trio were gods, as she claimed, maybe they could hear him. Shit, I know you bastards can hear me. Through my own block. So how about we quit the games and get down to what the void it is you want? There was no reply. He hadn't expected one, but saying it aloud felt good nonetheless. He turned and made his way to where Wendt stood. His face was more neutral than Dunn had ever seen. We're going through the airlock, Lance Corporal. Very good, sir, Wendt said. Permission to speak freely? Granted, Dunn said, already suspecting what the Marine was going to say. I'll take points, sir. Dunn raised his eyebrows. He had expected the Marine to quote regs instead of making his thoughts known. Is that an order, Lance Corporal? Wendt's expression didn't change, but a slight blush colored his cheeks. No, sir. I didn't think so. Dunn pointed at the airlock. After you, Wendt. Very good, sir. The pair put on their helmets, pressurized, and waited for the airlock to open. Dunn took a position 2 meters behind Wendt. When the door opened, Wendt expertly cleared before calling out to Dunn. Dunn hissed a sigh through his teeth and stepped inside. Chapter 54. The airlock opened to yawning darkness. The ambient light spilling from the airlock painted the opposite bulkhead with white before shadow led into pitch. Dunn sent a block command to the airlock and its lights flicked out. Low ambient, Dunn set over the comms. Wendt turned his suit lights to a setting near 0 and Dunn did the same. Dunn's escort stepped into the darkness. Dunn watched through Wendt's cam and low light filters. A green haze hung over everything, but it was enough to make out the barren medbay. Apart from movable partitions and examination room layouts, it was empty. He brought up the schematics and found the far shutters. Specimen labs, Dunn said. That's where we're going.
Copy.
The pair crouch-walked through the large medbay, their rifles clearing every cube, every partition, and every corner an exosolar creature could hide. Dunn had a feeling the entire module was clear, but he wasn't taking any chances. The path to the specimen lab was completely clear of the frenzied appearance of 1 and 2. McRoberts' crew apparently hadn't needed much from here. Once inside the specimen lab, Dunn closed the hatch blocking them off from the rest of the module. 5 labs in here, Wendt. We clear them, and then we're golden.
Aye, sir.
Wendt hadn't asked questions, which was good. Still, Dunn imagined the Marine was more than a little confused. Dunn wouldn't blame him. The first specimen lab's equipment was still in its wrapping, along with the printers. Dunn blinked at the crates that filled the far walls. Bioprinters and material. They could make food. Dunn nodded to himself as another puzzle piece clicked into place. The second lab contained more of the same, apart from a mix of medical supplies and other niceties. The third and fourth, however, were the most telling. Cryopods, 20 of them. The large morgue and pathology labs contained even more of the devices, nearly 100 all told.
Sir? Someone planning to sleep here?
Looks like, Dunn said. They moved to the final specimen lab, the one nearest the bulkhead facing into space. The emergency airlock had been sheared off, forcing the decompression restraints to close off the airlock entrance. Cover me, Wendt. This might take a few minutes.
Aye, sir.
Dunn affixed the eruptor to the shutter's surface and connected to it using his block. His HUD filled with information regarding the sonic signals vibrating over the door's surface. Attention Trident Station. It was the same message Noble had picked up. Dunn sent block commands to the eruptor, and a series of sonic pulses vibrated against the door. S&R Blue's eruptor would pick up the signals and alert them there was a response. This is Captain Dunn. Message received. Most of personnel in Medbay 1. Medical bays clear. Low on ammunition. Please advise. The response was nearly immediate. LeBlanc. Number of Marines? Dunn. 2 medical casualties, 2 MIA, 6 fighting shape, 1 on the ship. LeBlanc. Lieutenant Talby is safe. Dunn let out a long sigh. Dunn. Glad to hear it. Situation? LeBlanc. Multiple inbound clusters of creatures. Radiation levels rising in QM modules. We have some help, but we'll need to get medical bays safe first. Dunn considered that. She was talking about disconnecting the 3 medical modules and either pushing them into their own orbit around Neptune, presumably far from Trident Station, or maybe tow them the void out of here. Uranus, perhaps. Dunn. When and how? LeBlanc. Refueling Black now. Need 20 minutes, but you have more trouble coming. We will provide cover, but you need to be prepared in case the creatures get in. In case they got in? He didn't think she quite understood what she was saying. If the creatures got in, it was over. They didn't have ammunition, and they had gravity. A slow grin spread across his face. Done. Understood. Update when you can. LeBlanc. Acknowledged. Good hunting. Dunn left the text channel open. He hoped Noble could amplify its signal so he'd get the messages while he prepped Trident Station's remaining personnel for a bumpy, uncomfortable ride. Went. Bring up power, bring up the lights, bring up everything in this module.
Aye, sir.
And set the grav plates to 1.1 G.
Aye, sir.
Good man, he said, and jogged to the airlock through which they'd come. He opened the squad channel as he made his way to Noble. Carbonaro, I'm going to need you to corral casualties and personnel. We're moving to Medical Bay 3.
What about?
I'll coordinate with McRoberts regarding the seriously wounded. Get the walking wounded first.
Aye, sir.
Wentz in Medbay 3 and Copenhagen is still sentry.
Aye, sir. We'll make it happen.
He cut the channel as he stepped inside the maintenance closet. Noble turned to him as he entered. Dunn removed his helmet and grinned at the lieutenant. Here's the eruptor feed. He sent the block code to Noble. Do your best to make sure I can continue getting messages. I'm going to be a little busy. Sir? Noble said, eyebrows raised. And did you find where our power is coming from? Noble blinked again, either confused by Dunn's excitement or by the manic pace of his words. I'll handle the comms. I think the power is actually below us, sir. Dunn hesitated. Below us? Medical bay modules are the same as our hangar modules, sir. Maintenance spaces between the habitable levels next to the shielding. Only difference is the galley above us. He hadn't thought about that. He'd feared the reactors would be hidden behind a bulkhead or somewhere they absolutely could not get to. No, this made more sense. Noble's confusion had turned uneasy. Captain, what's going on? Dunn grinned. We might be able to keep these people alive a lot longer than I'd hoped. Noble hissed out of breath. That's good to hear. How? I have an idea, Dunn said. If I'm right, then I hope you're ready to do some engineering on the fly. Engineering? We'll see, Dunn said. He rapped his armored knuckles against the door. Keep on those comms. He turned and exited the maintenance closet and headed for Medbay 1. Murdoch led a dozen people through the entrance to Medbay 2. Most walked slowly, exhaustion and hunger having taken its toll, but they were alive and unharmed apart from malnutrition. Still, they might as well have been zombies. Murdoch looked questioningly at Dunn, but the captain merely nodded to him. Dunn walked to the far bulkhead, the twin area to Medbay 2's maintenance closet. The hatch was locked, as he'd expected. He sent his credentials via block and the panel lit green. Dunn tapped the door, and it opened. A slip point large enough for a combat marine sat recessed in the deck. Dunn dropped down and found himself in microgravity, drifting down below the mag plate's influence. He'd expected that. What he hadn't expected were the numerous shapes of metal and steel embedded into bulkheads facing space. This was like no engineering compartment he'd ever seen. This is just a med module, he whispered. He sent a block ping and received 3 pings in return. Life support, avionics, gravity generator. He interfaced with the generator and received a slew of information he didn't understand. The interface pinged his block again for code confirmation. Dunn raised an eyebrow but complied. The confusion of information coalesced into a simple menu. His grin returned wider than ever. Gee, you mad bastard.